Alright guys, I'm so excited. We are on chapter 6. Chapter 6, Casting the Burden, Impressing the Subconscious. Hello, thanks for joining me today. When man knows his own powers and the workings of his mind, his great desire is to find an easy and quick way to impress the subconscious with good, for simply an intellectual knowledge of the truth will not bring results. In my own case, what did I just read? When man knows his own powers and the workings of his mind, his great desire is to find an easy and quick way to impress the subconscious. In my own case, I found the easiest way is casting the burden. Let Jesus take the wheel. A metaphysician once explained it in this manner. He said, the only thing which gives anything weight in nature is the law of gravitation. If a boulder could be taken high above the planet, there would be no weight in that boulder. That is what Jesus meant when he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. He had overcome the world vibration and functioned in the fourth dimensional realm, where there is only perfection, completion, life, and joy. He said, come to me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. We are also told in the 55th Psalm to cast thy burden upon the Lord. Many passages in the Bible state that the battle is God's, not man's, that man is always to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. This indicates that the superconscious mind, or the Christ within, your intuition, your connection to your higher power, is the department which fights man's battles and relieves him of burdens. We see, therefore, that man violates law if he carries a burden. A burden is an adverse thought or condition. This thought or condition has its root in the subconscious. Okay, so what this is saying is, basically, the title of the chapter is Casting the Burden, meaning, let's see, we all have stress. You don't have to worry about it. Just because there's something weighing on you, what is your goal? If your goal is to have something to occupy your mind, if you're kind of addicted to that stress, then be aware of that. Be like, I have this burden. I enjoy holding on to it. Like, nobody really does enjoy it. What this is saying is give it to God. If you have a worry, don't let it repeat in your mind. Cast thy burden upon the Lord. The battle is God's, not man's. The superconscious mind, or the Christ within, is the department which fights man's battles and relieves him of burdens. A burden is an adverse thought or condition. This thought or condition has its root in the subconscious. It seems almost impossible to make any headway directing subconscious from the conscious or reasoning mind, as the reasoning mind, the intellect, is limited in its conceptions and filled with doubts and fears. How scientific is it then to cast the burden upon the superconscious mind, or Christ within, where it is made light or dissolved into its native nothingness? For example, a woman in urgent need of money made the statement, I cast this burden of lack on the Christ within, and I go free and have plenty. The belief in lack was her burden. As she cast it upon the Christ within, gave it to God, let Jesus take the wheel on that worry, the superconscious flooded the subconscious with its belief of plenty. An avalanche of supply was the result. We read, the Christ in you, the hope of glory. Another example one of my students had been given a new piano. There was no room in her studio for it until she had moved out the old one. She was in a state of perplexity. She wanted to keep the old piano, but knew of no place to send it. She became desperate, as the new piano was to be sent immediately. In fact, was on its way, with no place to put it. She said it came to her to repeat, I cast this burden on the Christ within, I go free. A few moments later, her phone rang, and a woman asked if she might rent her old piano. It was moved out a few minutes before the new one arrived. I knew a woman whose burden was resentment. You see what's happening in these is that someone has a problem. It could be anything. It could be that you feel poor. It could be that you want your house to look a certain way, or you want something in your house. You want to decorate it, or you have a piece of furniture. Whatever it is, it can be big, it can be small, it can be an object, it can be a problematic thought that you just silly. You just give it to God. I cast this burden. Like you cast, that makes me think about fishing. Casting the fishing line. You can imagine you're fishing. You throw out the line with the hook on it, and that's actually a really good metaphor, because when you go fishing, you have faith that there's fish there that will catch the hook. Cast your burden to God and let him hook what you have to have faith, or let go of any worry or doubt, and just catch it. Just catch what you know is meant for you. I like that. I knew a woman whose burden was resentment. I cast this burden of resentment on the Christ within, and I go free to be loving, harmonious, and happy. The almighty superconscious flooded the subconscious with love. Her whole life was changed. For years, resentment had held her in a state of torment and imprisoned her soul, the subconscious mind. This statement should be made over and over and over, sometimes for hours at a time, silently or audibly, with quietness but determination. I have often compared it to winding up a Victrola. That's an old record player. We must wind ourselves up with the spoken word. Kind of like thinking about us as wind-up toys. Maybe that's you gotta wind up your connection to God. Make the belief, the statement of what you know is right for you. Make that statement over and over. That's not wanting something, to be clear. That's handing over your problems. I release my worry to the care of God. Jesus, take the wheel. I release my care to God. That's all your job is. It's not to push, just to allow yourself to receive what you know is right for you. Or maybe you don't even know. You just say, God, guide me. That's my favorite prayer, because it's so simple. God, guide me. Because we don't always know what's right for us. Sometimes it's our ego that wants. And how do we know if it's our ego or God's will or intuition? Where are we? I have noticed in casting the burden, after a little while, one seems to see clearly. It's impossible to have clear vision while in the throes of carnal mind. That means desire. Doubts and fear poison the mind and body, and the imagination runs riot, attracting disaster and disease. In steadily repeating the affirmation, I cast this burden on the Christ within and go free, the vision clears, and with it a feeling of relief. Sooner or later comes the manifestation of good, be it health, happiness, or supply. Steadily repeating the affirmation, I cast this burden on the Christ within and go free. Or you don't have to say Christ. I cast this burden to the clouds and go free. This vision clears, and with it a feeling of relief. Sooner or later comes the manifestation of good, be it health, happiness, or supply. One of my students once asked me to explain the darkness before the dawn. I referred in a preceding chapter to the fact that often before the big demonstration, that means the big demonstration is the like end result, big demonstration, like when you get what you want. Before you get what you want, everything seems to go wrong. Deep depression clouds the consciousness. It means that out of the subconscious are rising the doubts and fears of the ages. These old derelicts of the subconscious rise to the surface to be put out. It is then that man should clap his cymbals, like Jehoshaphat, and give thanks that he is saved, even though he seems surrounded by the enemy. The situation of lack or dis-ease. The student continued, how long must one remain in the dark? I replied, until one can see in the dark. Casting the burden enables one to see in the dark. Just like when you cast the fishing line, you have faith that whatever fish is in the water, it'll see your line and grab on. In order to impress the subconscious, active faith is always essential. Faith without works is dead. In these chapters, I have endeavored to bring out this point.